How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the TNA Body Slam Post Show. I'm joined always by my good buddy Io. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Pretty chill Thursday. So looking forward to
Yeah,
next.
yeah,
Looking forward to next Thursday. I'll explain why, but yeah.
definitely. It was, as people know, it wasn't really like a new episode as it kind of was, like a behind the scene, like almost like a director's cut. You know, when you're going to get the commentary when you're watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like a little bit of that. Seemed like we had a lot of backstage interviews. But why don't you break it down? What happened tonight?
Well, basically, tonight. I know folks have been kind of rumbling for a while, like what's TNA doing after Bound for Glory and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty much as some of us presumed it was going to be like a recap episode from Bound for Glory. Um, it's going to be interesting the next couple weeks because the next time they're doing the show. From my understanding, is November the 14th, at least for right now. But so basically, for the next 3 weeks, it's going to be interesting what they're going to be what content they're putting on the next few weeks. But yeah, tonight was after the glory. Next week's going to be well, I'll explain what will happen next week. But yeah, tonight was basically kind of a recap. Some of the champions were in the studio talking with Hannafin and Raywalt. Yeah, I mean, it was a good to me. I mean, it was a decent recap show. Like we got to hear a lot from like the champions about like what was going through their mindset after the match. That I'll share about later and stuff.
Yeah, no, I thought this is just kind of like another thing that TNA is doing to kind of like up, like just like the whole presentation of the product. You know what I mean? And it starts with stuff like this. So yeah, I thought it was for what it was. You know what I mean? But yeah, like you said, we'll get into a little bit more later. But yeah, and so there wasn't technically like a new episode. We're gonna get into a few things. And first, I kind of want to get your overall sense on the impending TV deal. Like, what do you think that we're basically on the eve of it? Like, obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but do you think we're getting closer?
I can, from a lot of people that have reported on it, including our buddies Gerard and Mike Gilbert. I can say that, and according to Carlos Silva, who's talked about it, I can say that they're right now they're like on the finalizing deal. Lawyers are involved. So I would say we will likely soon get an announcement or some sort soon before the end of this year, because as Silva mentioned, like in 2026 they're going to be on a new platform. So yeah, definitely we're on the finalizing standpoint, so to speak.
Yes, and like we've kind of talked about, like in our group chat, like our buddy Jeff had mentioned it. Like it takes time. Like you don't just go on to a new network. You know what I mean? Like there's things you got to put in place. You know what I mean? Like production and all that kind of. And it's not like you're just going to jump in the middle of a season. You know what I mean? Because networks do kind of have seasons when they roll out their shows. So yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that.
A shout out to our buddy Cameron who's in the chat. I see you, buddy.
Yes.
Yeah, we're all here.
Yeah. Next, I thought it was kind of funny, Io, because this is just basically kind of like a free for all in terms of show of like what we're talking about. I thought it was interesting that a lot of the talk this week surrounding Bound for Glory was kind of disputing attendance. And
yeah,
I Moose had like a great point when he just said, like, he was talking about like maybe back in the day, and just in terms of comps, like you would see like giving away, and even now, like in terms of like a few hundred, But the idea that, you know, people out there who want to spread the narrative that like the 3 or 1,000 seats were given away from free is like asinine. And like, I you know, I don't have the quote ahead of me in front of me, but Moose, the way Moose put it was like, you know, I'm like, yeah, exactly. It's like to think that any business would give away that much free product is so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that whole talk around that made no sense to me.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of people online that just want to like rain on a parade, especially on this occasion for TNA. Um, it's kind of sad too. Like hey, this you're seeing like another company that's doing good business, and like at the end of the day, I mean, like, why do you care so much? Like, I'm talking like these people, like, okay, like they did a good attendance, like they got that many people in the building, like that's what should matter. And some of you guys out here trying to like rain on the parade, posting misleading pictures and all that other stuff. I'm like, I can tell you certain point, like a lot of these talents have been working their ass off doing media work, going to town. And another thing, hey, WWE has done this many times with doing like sweepstakes and giveaways and all that stuff. Like what TNA does, I'm gonna say what TNA does is no different than what WWE does, and I'm pretty sure what AEW does too. Like I've seen AEW talent give away tickets too, but that's for another conversation. So yeah, the whole crew worked their ass off, doing around like it's not just like online the tickets and all that stuff. They've been, working around the media all over the town in Boston, Lowell. Like this has been a day to day. You guys think like they just flew from where they live to like, come to Bound for Glory. Now some of the talent's been there for the past couple of weeks, like grinding and building momentum show. So yeah, that's what should be the main thing. Is like they worked their ass off to get this achievement, and whether you believe the attendance record or not, that's for another story. Like if that's for another conversation or so. Like if the Sasonga Center feels some way, and Anthem and or then until further dispute and otherwise, that's how it is. Like TNA did tremendous success with Bound for Glory and Slammiversary today. Like that should be tremendous. Like this is without a doubt like one of their best successful years in the last 23 years of this company. And that's what should be mattered for. Like don't try to like rain on the parade or so, because as Moose mentioned, I'm gonna bring up his photo real quick. He says in 2016, 2017, himself, the Hardys, Eddie, McIntyre, Rose, Lashley, they all wrestled in front of only 150 people, where every single ticket were free because Universal didn't allow ticket sales. So yeah, I mean, you think like after all the trials and tribulations, some of those talents that were there years back would take that route of like just giving out tickets free. No, heck no. Like every majority of everyone on that roster are hardworking people. Like that's what should be counted for.
Well said, Io. Completely agree with you. And it's like you said, like going back a few points before, it's like you see before these shows and before these events, like the Hardys are very visual with it. Like they're going to these towns, you know what I mean? They're going to these sporting events. They're promoting the hell out of these shows, you know what I mean? and not to get into it further, but if you have paying attention to one Mr. Bully Ray this week, him and the Hardys single-handedly sold out that building. And you know what I mean? You could and to get to that point again, whether that's true or not, to that point, it's like if you're not paying attention close to TNA, you don't really see the value that the Hardys bring. And whether you're a fan of nostalgia or not, it was evident if you watched that show. I'm not talking about the match. If you watched the show, that was a big reason why people were there. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the match. I'm not getting into match quality or star ratings. I'm talking about just the people being in that building. It seemed to be that match was a big part of why they were there. So, and yeah, just to your main point, Io, yeah, they're going out. The people behind the scenes are putting in a lot of work to get to this point. So I don't know why anybody would want to, usually like when something good happens in wrestling, non-WWE related, the community should be celebrating, you know what I mean? But for whatever reason, when TNA does something, people gotta.
To Matthew Smith, TNA, in the UK they did had over 8,000 people. Internationally, well, this is for like North American wise. Right now it's Bound for Glory. Right now it's Bound for Glory. Like internationally wise, overall, like that's still, you could say like it's still London. Like for that, Wembley Arena.
What did they do? Didn't like a few, like not like a few years ago, but like I think it was like 2007, 2008. What didn't they do like close to 5,000 in like San Antonio or like the Alamo Dome? Didn't they do something like that? Pretty close to that. Am I thinking
2013? 2013 lockdown.
Yes,
they did 6 or 7. That was that was the previous record.
Okay. So yeah, like so and to Matt's point, real quick, that's when I people keep bringing up those numbers, especially at that time period. It just makes me think that with this TNA product being as hot as they can, they could probably break that record if they were to go over to England again, because TNA does do very well when they travel there.
Yeah.
You see these numbers, Io, this year, and it's like you have to be hopeful for next year. You know what I'm saying? Especially like even what they're doing for their quote unquote B shows. The numbers are very impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So next year should be very, very good to TNA.
I'm just saying, Carlos Silva, like he's, for those who are starting to get to know him, he's a very ambitious type of guy. Like he's very game on with certain like challenges that he thinks TNA or TNA can go straight forward and up ahead and stuff. So when he said like they feel like they could possibly match or top Slammiversary attendance, like I sort of believe him, because like, hey, like the UBS, I know he wasn't there when the announcement was made, but like when they made the UBS Arena announcement back in almost November, there were a bunch of people who thought like, ain't no way TNA is gonna fill that build. And I'm sure you've seen the tweets. People were like, ain't no way TNA is gonna fill the UBS Arena, and all that stuff. But as months go along, you started seeing all the media and marketing strategies going along. Even the UBS Arena advertised Slammiversary and whatnot. So fast forward, once Slammiversary is done, they announced the Tsonga Center, and already ticket sales already went straight to shut. Obviously, because we know why of a certain match. And as we go along further, you include the NXT exposure and whatnot, it started to pick up until like here we are, like nearly 7K here in the Tsonga Center. So it's funny to like shut down like ambition for a goal, but then as we get closer, it starts picking up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't know. Again, when you say that number again, I don't know why the first thing to do people do is to try to dissect it rather than applaud it. You know what I mean? It's a non-WWE, non-AEW, because I think they are one of the bigger companies. Obviously, doing those kind of numbers should be again applauded rather than shit on. But and to our good buddy Miguel's point, I'm not going to get into. I said I'm not going to get the star ratings, but yes, we know Bully's a talker. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll get into Bully later. So do you want to talk about some release talents, real quick?
Yes. Yes.
I was thinking Wesley in particular. If you want to bring him up real quick.
Well, I'm glad you because when we were originally talked about, like before we were going to talk about release talent, I wasn't even thinking him, but I'm glad you brought it up. That should be a no-brainer for TNA, just because I don't. It's a 90-day no compete clause, I believe, right?
30 day. He's an NXT talent. Yeah.
Again, anytime someone of this caliber is released, I know people's minds are immediately going to go, "Oh, AEW." But one, I do think that this is a case when I think TNA's got a better shot than usual, just because of the familiar ties. TNA's definitely in a better place than when he left, so it's not like it's an easy choice to go to AEW over TNA. But if I was at TNA, I would instantly get in there. You know what I mean? Like you got to start making. You got to make an offer. I think they're going to, but I hope it's an aggressive one to bring him back.
Yeah. As you see in the photos of the other Rascal members, I mean, obviously storyline wise, Wesley, turned his back on Wentz and Miguel, and they had their fuse over, but obviously the brotherhood is still, like, the brotherhood is still there, as you can see in the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be shocked if he decided to, like, go somewhere else, but from my viewpoint, like, I would think it'd be wise for TNA to, like, consider bringing in the now Desmond Xavier. That's we're gonna go by. Yeah. And then the Rascals in general, because I mean, that's, as is reported, contracts and that's for another conversation. But yeah, it would be wise for, like, to have all four of the Rascals together, because I think, and I said this in our group chat, the Rascals can be the TNA what the Elite are to AEW. Like,
Exactly.
I'm saying?
That was
Like,
a great point.
yeah, because they can succeed well in the tag divisions and singles, in match stipulations. Like, they can be those type of talent. You just put them in anyone and they're gonna thrive in. Like, especially for, like, heck, even like main event PLE or whatnot. So yeah, looking forward to what's next for Desmond Xavier. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great point. Just about, and then just them being like the elite of TNA, and then just you think about it, like because the system are kind of, you would think, are on their way. They should not. You would think that they're not going to be a faction forever at this point. You know what I mean? It's going on like at least 2 years, I believe. And the Order 4 are positioning themselves to be the top faction, so they're going to need somebody to, kind of face, and the Rascals would be a perfect babyface faction. They obviously could be heels as well, but yeah, it should be a no-brainer to bring Wesley in.
Yeah.
Just to stick with free agency real quick, were there any of the released WWE ID names that kind of stood out to you?
Zeta Steel, in particular. I'm not sure you're familiar with her.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with her. I haven't seen much of her work, but you would think that would be a prototypical just TNA wrestler, because I don't know if she's ready to go to AEW. So TNA would be a perfect place.
Well, yeah, she made it no secret that she's a TNA fan, and would like to join there. To me, I think she's a young up and comer that that could have some potential. I watched a little bit of Evolve, not too much. Um, some WWE ID stuff, but not really much. But yeah, a little bit. But yeah, they paired her into this Vanity Project group and Evolve. Uh, Basically kind of like a valet, of that group. and during the WWID tournament stuff, she has some stellar matches, with Kylie Ray and stuff. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, it was it was only kind of like a cup of coffee type of run, so to speak, with the whole WWID program with her. But yeah, she's someone, who's she has some international experience on her part. She was in Marigold, that the women's promotion in Japan. Um, she was also a tag partner of current TNA talent, Myla Grace. So there you have it. It'd be interesting, if she joins her too. So
Yeah, that's a perfect name for, and they should always go after people who first and foremost make it known that they would like to go to TNA. You know what I mean? I just think that's something that TNA should always, or any company should value.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I agree with you based on both names, Wes and Zeta. I would make those priorities. I still don't, I still don't know what's where Dakota is going to go, but I've made it no secret that Dakota Kai would be a name I would sign if I was TNA, just because that's, even though she's had some injury history, there's just some name recognition with her, some name value. I would go with Nixon Newell as well, formerly Tegan Knox, just because again those names who have been places, you know what I mean. And again, I think with their injury history, it's not like they have a ton of miles on them. You know what I mean? I think with TNA's schedule, that would be beneficial for them.
yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of released talent, one more particular who was just on Impact not too long ago. So I know you're gonna be on the fence about this, but yeah, Ridge Holland. Apparently, WWE's not renewing him. Once his current contract ends. I'm trying to read the situation. I think they're. Just real quick. Yeah, he's on. He injured himself in a taping during a taping. As Joseph mentioned, yeah, he injured in his match with Moose. So yeah, he's gonna be out for a few months. They're gonna pay him the remainder of his deal, but apparently the thing is, for the next 8 months he's still recuperating, and
Trying to find a little bit more.
I'm trying to read the whole situation just real quick. Sorry about that, guys. Just... Okay, yeah. Basically, yeah. They're gonna pay him the remainder of his deal. But after that, they're just gonna let him go. And the problem is, he's on the injured list and he's got no income. So yeah, a lot of people are on the fence and that they should pay him while he's injured. They should continue to pay him while he's injured. I know Mike Gilbert, Brian Elvers, and of course Sean Rossap has spoke about it. Yeah, sucks for the guy. I mean, I'm not to like show not to like talk much about him, but like yeah, he hasn't really had like a string of luck. He bounced from NXT, and then he came from NXT UK and then NXT, and then the Brawling Brutes. Obviously, the incident with Biggie, and then bounced back to NXT, and then now he's involved. He appeared on TNA, and now he gets hurt. So yeah, it's been not really been a string of bad luck for that guy. But anyway, he's gonna be out for a couple while, and it kind of bites that he's getting released Well, I mean, he's not being renewed soon, but mainly, yeah, he's going to be out of work and he can't really do much. So, yeah. Well, what's your thoughts before I continue on the Rich Hollis situation?
Well, first of all, yeah, like total shitty situation. Just the fact that being not able to earn money, not getting paid while not being able to earn, that's they should be taking care of him. Yeah, we've seen a lot of just like endorsements too from I believe Mike Santana had, I believe, kind of like shouted him out a little bit. It's, you know what I mean, and it kind of just said that, like, because you see a lot of people talking about, would you like to see him in TNA? And I believe like Santana like kind of like showed him. He showed the clip from their match and kind of said, "Oh, you know what I mean." Put him over a little bit, and just in terms of like, "Oh yeah, this guy's good." You know what I mean? And whether or however I feel about him, you know what I mean. Again, if any company is going to get something out of somebody, it's TNA. And so if he ends up in TNA, again, I'm not down in TNA. So
Yeah. I mean, again, shout out to Mike Gilbert. I think the thing with Holland is that yeah, he wasn't really put in a position to kind of like he wasn't put in like the right position, I guess you can say, to kind of like untap like untap his untap what he is about. I guess you could say like they just put him in with they just put him in like with already skilled wrestlers, and then like the chemistry is not there. Like you see, I mean, obviously the crazy match with Johnny Gargano with that freak accident there, and I think he almost hurt. I think he kind of hurt one of the Pretty Deadly members, and then of course the Big E incident. So hey, I mean, sometimes. Yeah, yeah. As Joseph mentioned, like even though Biggie has stated that it was an accident, Loki felt like he was being punished for it. Well, that's the beauty of nature, Like even the person you hurt forgives you. Other people, have a different mind. But yeah. Basically, I think yes, so to speak, they WWE never really had much faith in him. Because I think maybe some feel like he's dangerous in the ring, or they don't really get him or whatnot. But yeah, enter TNA. I mean, a good part, he has some guys supporting him, like Moose and Santana, and of course, Santana had that good match with him at Victory Road. So yeah, it's good. Bottom line, yeah, it's gonna be a long road for Rich. So we'll see what happens. So.
Yeah, I was trying to find the post that Santana basically put out, but he just praising him and kind of saying, he'll be back. And I did think Ridge's best work was, whether the gimmick was kind of dumb both times, whether it was the Brawling Brutes or him trying to like
Chase you.
Destroy Chase you. I do think Ridge is a heavy. You know what I mean? That's always something that could work. You know what I'm saying? Again, so if TNA was to bring him in, you put him with someone like EY. I have total faith in EY. You know what I mean? You put him with someone like, if one day he comes out and he's one of the Secret Service members for Ali. You know what I mean? Like, that's something I think that, that it's perfect for him. So again, if he ends up in TNA, I'm not going to hate on it just because it's TNA. So
yeah. All right. Before we get to tonight's show, you want to do the talk about a history match?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this match just had its anniversary this week. 2007. In 2007, this match just had its anniversary this week. Sting versus Kurt Angle, Bound for Glory, 2007, in Atlanta, Georgia, for the world title. This was a big match. This was a big match. This was 1 year. This was 1 year of when Kurt Angle debuted in TNA. Coming in, he's a heavyweight champion. He's already faced the likes of Christian, Joe, Steiner, Abyss, and so and so. So going into Bound for Glory in Atlanta, he's going up against the Icon Sting. Basically, like the dream. Yeah, basically this was like the dream match that folks have been open for when Angle stepped in. But yeah, going into I'm gonna talk about the backstory a little bit. Yeah, going into Angle, the Angle family, were run up high, him and his then wife Karen at the time. So at the time, Angle had all the gold, including the tag titles. His partner was Sting. They lost him to Pac-Man and Ron Killings, as we talked about a while back. The dissension obviously was. I already know the dissension was going to be there. To the part where like Karen basically lied to Kurt, saying that Sting slapped her. Yeah, to the point where Angle so like for the next few weeks, it was this whole thing of like Kurt being mad at Sting because Sting slapped his wife, and Kurt just being enraged and like back and forth. So back and forth. Sting, had a counter offer. No, had a counter to the Angle family that Karen Angle there was a restraining order towards Karen Angle, like she can't be 50 feet with a Sting. There's this one episode where Karen was getting arrested. I don't know if you remember this one episode where Karen was getting arrested for violating that 50 feet law. Then it came to like that one episode where Angle would actually be at one of Sting's sons. I forget his name. Garrett.
They
Boyd.
talked about this during the match.
Yeah. Say that again.
They talked about like Sting. Are you referring to like Kurt Angle showing up at one of Sting's son's football games? Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Yeah, they talked about that during the match, and the way Don West and today sold it.
Yeah.
But continue, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. There was this one podcast group that talked about it a while back. I forgot, but So Kurt, he decided that's how great of a heel Kurt is. Like he has no limits of what he's willing to do. Yeah, so he appeared at Sting's son's football game. While Sting was miles away. Yeah. Pretending being like supportive and da. So long story short, towards the end, he confronted Sting's son Garrett. Garrett slammed the door at him, and then Kurt grabbed a hold of him, and then shoved the camera, and then that was about it. So going into Bound for Glory, there was a lot of feud, animosity, and personal feud into it, but doesn't change the fact like these are two of the absolute best going at it, and like they had a big time clash. What was your thoughts watching the match before I run it down?
Yeah, many of you know, I started watching TNA in 2009. So anytime I get to go back before I started watching, it's always a treat. So this is the first time I saw this match. Man, I don't know how old Sting was. I think he's got to be like late 40s at this time. Man, he moved well. Kurt's obviously a machine. Man, and this is probably my favorite era of the TNA World Title. Kind of looks like the big gold belt in a way. You know what I mean? Kind of like their version of it. You know what I mean? It's a really nice title. And because this match, what was the show? How many months before this was the show where Kurt and Sting were tag team partners and they lost the titles? How many?
Just a month prior, they were tag champs.
Yeah, I had just remember recently watched that match because I think we discussed Kurt defending all 3 titles in one night, which was pretty fucking epic. No, this match was really good. Today, kind of just breaking down Kurt's whole strategy, and just he's gonna wear it on the leg, just so he can set up that ankle lock. Don West is so good. The way that he just marks out for things, like when the match, like toward the end of the match, when Kevin Nash came out there and kind of get involved. Kevin Nash kind of looking like Gandalf the Grey without the beard, which is funny because I think Kevin Nash went by Oz at one point, another wizard in his career. Kevin Nash comes down, moving. I don't know, moving as only he can at this point. But Kevin Nash hits Kurt Angle in the way that Don West just sells. He's like, "Oh, he cleaned his clock." Like Don West just lost his shit. Like the crowd was like losing it too at this point. But I also thought it was very funny that they kept referring. Because I remember the storyline. They kept calling Kurt like the meal ticket, and I remember like Kevin Nash kept like, you know what I mean? Because for some reason at this point, like. The angle was like one of the many angles that like just because Kurt was champ, like somehow it kept Kevin Nash like employed or like you know what I mean? Like
basically Nash was like he was like the advisor, or there were some funny segments you got to check out. Yeah, he was basically like the advisor to Kurt or the guy of wisdom or whatever. So yeah, the meal ticket, basically like as long as Kurt's champ, he's his meal ticket, so to speak. So that's why he was getting involved a little bit.
It's funny you mentioned it. Yeah, I encourage people to go look at some of the segments, like whether like I remember one where it's Dr. Nash and Kurt Angle's in the tanning booth. Like that's a funny one. I also remember one where like Kurt Angle stands up to Kevin Nash, and some of the lines that Kurt says are like so cheesy, but you know what I mean, the way that the crowd reacts to him. Yeah, that was like a very funny point, like in TNA, especially these two had very good like comedic chemistry.
Yeah.
But going back to the match, this was one of the best TNA World Title matches I've seen. Like it was very good. Kurt was in his peak at this time. You know what I mean? Like I said, Sting has always been good. You know what I mean? Even when he was getting up there in age, you know what I mean? As he was here, he always put in one hell of a performance.
Definitely. Like you can even say like he was having a great run. Having one of his best run at TNA compared to his WCW run. But also, you can pretty much say this was also still the golden era of TNA because you still had Angle, Sting, Styles, Joe, Christian, Steiner. A lot of heavy hitters around that time. So the fact that Sting, can still push it. I think he was in his late 40s at this time. If I remember. That it's tremendous for a guy like him. So a lot of good sequences in the match, including that 450
the knee spot,
the knee spot from Angle. As we get into the finish, Angle picked up Sting's bats and proceed to as usually like at a spot like this, like someone's gonna block it, but there's a little botch there. So Angle proceeds to actually hit Sting in the face, and it was funny. It's like Tenay, poor Tenay, he tried his best to kind of like sell that, saying like Sting blocked it, but no, we didn't.
No.
That as you guys watch back, that shot to the head, you can hear that. It really nailed him. I think Sting kind of gave Kurt a receipt back because Kurt too was bleeding. Yeah, both guys were bleeding. So Scorpion Death Drop 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Sting becomes the new champion. The whole show of that Bound for Glory is pretty good. I recommend folks to take a watch into it. But that was a fun night.
Was that Sting's first run as world TNA world champ?
TNA world champ, yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. But he had been there before a little bit, right? Or
the year prior he won the NWA title. But
he did. Okay.
yeah.
That wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like you said, that was one hell of a match. Like Sting and Kurt had some really good matches in TNA. That was one of I think Kurt's better rivalries in TNA as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Okay, before we move on to the next thing, I just want to remind everyone this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it might actually stick in your head rather than forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which increases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. And we all know you're going to need that on those nasty gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off your first order. Okay, Io.
All right. So, yes, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, tonight's episode was basically like some recap. They started the show with off the air. Santana still celebrating with his daughter. We're gonna talk about Santana later, but yeah, it's the crowd. Yeah, was very pumped with the "You Deserve a Chance." It was it was a very fitting ending. So yeah, then Hannafin and Ray Walt, they started talking about Steve Macklin's match with Frankie Kazarian. Macklin talked about how special of a night that was, with the United States Marine Corps, with his fellow Marines, giving him that nice entrance, and then of course, his mom being in attendance. Like for a guy like Steve Macklin, like this truly is like you could say like he's come along, and I know we'll talk about Macklin real quick. He's come along, like he feels like he's really being like his best self, like here in TNA. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think that, and we're talking about a former world champion, but like I think he's in the middle of his best run right now. I think he's really in the short kind of history of the international champion. I think he is the international champion at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, completely agree with you.
Yeah, he's the right guy to like kickstart that belt.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then, Leon Slater joined Hannafin and Tom. They were talking about the incredible match, that him and Javon Evans had. Leon even talked about that. He's been studying Javon Evans for some time, and that he knew that the moment WWE and TNA had this relationship, like that was the match that folks that was kind of like the dream match folks were wanting, and that it came to fruition. So he's been watching Javon, testing, kind of like studying his move. As you can see, like both guys are kind of very similar. When you look at both guys are kind of very similar. You know what I'm saying? Like the way they move and like how young they are, so to speak. So like take me back when you were watching. Like, did you see like a mirror resemblance? Like walk us down. Like when you were watching, like did you see like a mirror resemblance of the way they were moving?
Oh, between Javon and Leon?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like they have a similar like build. You know what I mean? Like they're deceptively taller guys too, for how quick they are and what high flyers they are. But yeah, they're definitely two. There was a lot of parts of that match where they seemed to basically be going tit for tat. You know what I mean? Like they definitely similar styles.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And of course, with great opponents, mutual respect. As of course, what happened, with Dark State interfering. So yeah, on NXT they showed Leon and Slater, as Joseph mentioned. They're still, it seems like they want to be tag teaming more often or so. 'Cause I know they tagged previously on NXT. Um, so what do you think of, like, right now? Do you think we possibly might get a rematch down the line between Leon and Slater? I mean, sorry, Javon and Slater.
Well, what scares me about this is if the reports are true, how we saw that WWE had a heavy influence into the decision of this.
Oh yeah.
I don't, like I mentioned before, I don't want to see the NXT belt go to I don't want to see the X Division title go to someone in NXT. That's the one title I don't think should be switched. I think that's uniquely TNA. I just think I wouldn't like that. So part of me doesn't want to see a rematch because I don't think we're going to get another clean finish, because I don't know if based on what I said previously, if they're going to let Javon go over. I mean, if they're going to let Leon go over. So I'm very torn on that.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that point of view. If this is their way, I know I said this too. Like, if this is their way, that sorry, I'm reading Joseph's word. Yeah, if this is their way of wanting to kind of stretch this between Javon and Leon, there's other ways to do it. Yeah, it was reported WWE has seemed like a heavy influence on the call, as obviously that's why Dark State was there. So in my view, I think they want to extend this with either two things. Have them be a tag team, because this is kind of similar to with Fraxium, like what Frazier and Axiom, they were opponents and they had good chemistry, and then they ended up being a tag team. So it could be where they start tagging more, but obviously probably leading to a rematch down the line. And I agree. The X Division title is very protected. Like, it shouldn't even be considered in the hands of NXT talent. And plus, Javon, he's making main roster appearances, so we're just gonna have to see. All I can say is, if they're trying to do a rematch, then it needs to matter. Big, matter, like, be on a big stage, like probably at the next NXT PLE or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's why, like, I could see the only way I would maybe feel a little bit more safer is to, like, let's say like Javon was already like main roster bound and on the main roster. If he went to TNA and had this match, then I don't think that it would be as big of a deal, because they could say that, like, oh, he was, his mind wasn't there. You know what I mean? He's thinking about, going to the main roster. You know what I mean? He's so, like, if that's the case, but I maybe could get a little bit more. I feel a little more safe about that. But if they do, as soon as they do this, the quicker they do this rematch, the worse I feel, just because I feel like, wait, is there a chance they're gonna, have Leon drop the X Division title? Because I think it's way too soon. And again, it shouldn't go to an NXT talent. They need to protect that belt. That belt should be protected.
right. I mean, they already have the Knockouts belt, so yeah.
Yeah.
And as Joseph mentioned, Javon just had a match with Sami Zayn on SmackDown, so at any given point he could be called up to the main roster. So yeah, it would be pointless to, like, if they even consider putting the TNA belt on him or whatnot. But we're just gonna have to see. Yeah, if this is just to extend a possible rematch between them, then sure, whatever. Like, as long as it makes sense and it's on a paper and it's on a PLE. Like, don't do it in the PC. No, like, you gotta treated with the same respect. Like if they're gonna do yours at TNA Bound for Glory, then WWE gotta put it on a PLE, like whether it's Halloween Havoc or Deadline or whatever, or hell even Survivor
Yeah,
Series, even Survivor Series for all I care about. Who knows?
I agree
All
with
right.
you on that. Yeah, it can't be like a performance center house show or like a weekly NXT show. You know what I mean? They can't do that.
Yeah, yeah. But speaking of Leon, yeah, and the X Division title next Tuesday, he's gonna defend it against one Shannon Stacks Lorenzo, the fiance of Ariana Grace, and the soon-to-be son-in-law of one Santina Morella.
Wait, what's the match?
Stacks, you know that guy Stacks, right?
Yes, from the D'Angelo, formerly the
The
D'Angelo family.
D'Angelo family, yeah, he's gonna be challenging Leon next Tuesday on NXT.
Okay, that should be a good match. I mean, this should be okay. You know what I mean? Stacks is he's okay. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Leon's going to carry it, but Leon's obviously going to be the more experienced. Not even though Leon's 20, Leon's going to be the better worker. But that should be an interesting match.
Yeah, yeah. To point out, Joe said, well, there's no point of building because it's just a one and done. But Javon said he's going to be watching the match closely, so there's your build there. So yeah. Um. Yeah. Next. Yeah. We talked about Bubba Ray Dudley. I mean, Bully Ray. So yeah. Next, we the Hardys. Well, yeah, Mickey. Sorry, Mickey James. Mickey James was there prior, but we already talked about Mickey on the show. The Hardys joined, reviewing over the Team 3D Hardys One Last Table match. That crowd, that crowd was pumped as soon as 3D's music hits, and then the Hardys music hits. I think there's a lot of times we underestimate how much influence and value these two tag teams bring. Don't you agree? Like
Well,
people will be I know some people be surprised like the pops and what like the amount of pops and whatnot. Like listen, these are two of the most influenced tag teams. Like you can see the value that they still can bring. Obviously, like they did tremendous success. With the attendance that Baffert Lord got. So it's just kind of like, I mean, at least I'm speaking from a fan standpoint. It's kind of like very satisfying that people still care. There's people out there that still care. So to speak. I know, like outside the IWC and whatnot. Don't you agree?
yeah. Again, I had like mentioned this. Whether how I feel about the match, however the haters feel about the match, you know what I mean. It definitely moved people in the building. People definitely bought this show for that match. I'm not going to argue that. And like you said, people were very into this match. And to your first point, yes, a lot of the people who watch wrestling, especially this era, like the people who are seeing there, they grew up with these teams, so that's going to resonate with them. And again, that's the people buying this match.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the Hardys, yeah, they talked about how important this match was to them and their legacy, and that they were completely caught by surprise what happened after the match. That the Dudleys actually took off their boots and give them to them, which is the ultimate sign of respect, and kind of signifying the end of the Dudley Boys. It's real quick, like if you had like a few things to describe the Dudley Boys, what would they be? Like considering like that's kind of like a huge passing the. You could say yeah, maybe passing of the torch some way, but like yeah, what was the Dudley Boys? How would you describe the Dudley Boys?
Well, it's I think first of all, they're always going to be in the mention of the Hardys and Edge and Christian. They're always going to be tied together because of those two really famous matches. I think out of the three, in my opinion, I don't know. I feel like the Dudleys were like less of the team from what I saw. I didn't watch ECW, which, you know what I mean? You could argue that was probably like their peak in terms of like the presentation, because I'm always going to remember them as, putting people through tables, whether it was obviously the one with Mae Young is always going to stand out to me. That was a pretty wild moment as a kid. You know what I mean? Dudley's putting Mae Young through a table off the ramp.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like for some reason, especially being like a TNA fan, I'm always going to remember like the Dudleys more so as their single stuff. You know what I mean? Just because that's just what I saw the most recent. But in terms of like where they rank on like all-time tag teams, that's a tough one because, you know what I mean? There's a lot of tag teams that I would say had better matches than them, but you can't argue with the moments that they had. But that, you know what I mean? That's where it kind of gets like a gray area. What are your thoughts on the Dudleys? What would you remember about them?
I'll remember like how explosive and really like how they really stood out from the pack, not just from tag teams, but from like entirely. Like you put the Dudley Boys on any roster, they're gonna stand out. They're gonna be one of the few that get the biggest pops and whatnot and stuff. So, and they kept their aura. You know what I'm saying? Like they throughout the original ECW, towards the WWF, WWE, TNA, like they kept their aura. Like even when Bubba and Devon were split up, like Bubba still does the tables. Devon still does the testify, even when he was Reverend Devon and stuff. But like, yeah, they kept. What I like is how both guys kept their aura even when they were split. And kudos to TNA for taking a chance. I know, of course, like the original split didn't work out, but like kudos to TNA, maintaining that split because Bubba became Bully Ray. Devon, he won some singles titles, and then eventually, yeah, both guys, come together, the Hall of Fames and whatnot, and returning to WWE and whatnot. So, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, both guys, they still kept that aura, and including the Hardys too. Like the Hardys can split up right now, and then I guess you could say 3 years later they reunite and then still get the biggest pops. But yeah,
yeah.
All right. Oh yeah. Before. Oh yeah. Yeah. This one. Yeah. Before we get to Santana later. Yeah. This another TNA original kept popping up, interrupting Raywald and Hannafin. It's our very good buddy Eric Young, who's as to quote Jim Ross, he's shorter than a peccoon, so to speak. Eric Young. Yeah, I don't know why he was popping up. He was okay. So he was upset that no one was talking about him and ODB still being the longest reigning KO champs. Talking about that, he was a 2-time world champion. He was robbed and basically complaining and moaning and whatnot. I mean, I love Eric Young. Like, what more should we say? I know you had some things to say in the group chat about UI, if you want to share them.
Oh yeah, no, just because like I think that I remember someone kind of was saying that like this just kind of shtick is World Class Maniac is kind of tired, but you know what I mean? Like one, I don't think that that's necessarily true, but going back to my main point though, like if you watch TNA's history, give me a guy who has been given like less at times and has made the most of it. You can give UI anything, dude. He's going to turn it into something that's workable. You know what I mean? So like he's got over so much. You know what I mean? Like going back to like when he was like with ODB, like before that, like all he was doing was coming out and pretending to lock up with fans and the ref, and like he was like mega over. You know what I mean? Like EY's very, you know what I mean? Again, he's very like our truth in that way. You know what I mean? And like, would you call him Io the Chameleon of TNA?
The chameleon,
Yeah,
chameleon of pro wrestling. Yeah, the chameleon of TNA. Like you give EY something, he's gonna like he can he um he how to say it? Like he kind of shape shifts or changes to something different and fresh and rare, and then he makes the most out of it. So that's kind of how I describe EY.
like we're getting close to Thanksgiving. Like they better film something. And hopefully, EY makes someone wear the turkey suit, because if you've watched TNA for any point in time, Eric and EY in that turkey suit are pretty synonymous.
Exactly. From having blonde hair to like wearing a bikini suit to wearing a turkey suit to uh to even dyeing his hair black to even shaving his hair and then growing a beard and then with sanity. Yeah, basically, yeah. EY, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, EY is like the chameleon. He can like change into certain things and then stand out from it. But yeah, it was funny. EY, kind of interrupting Tom and Matt, and even close to the end of the show. So that was funny. All right. So they we got back to Santana. Winning the belt from Trick. He joined Tom and Matt, talking about how important that how memorable that night was, and also leading up to it that his big influence were Conan, Amazing Red, that that took him under their wing, so to speak. We know about Conan, how and Amazing Red, how important they are to TNA. Uh, Sorry. Well, let's start with Amazing Red. Like, how much of the impact you feel like he's put up like towards not just Santana but also like the wrestling industry.
Well, you could feel it from not having watched a lot of Amazing Red, to whether it was his time in TNA or like the Indies. I've seen some, but like you watch from what I've seen, the very little, and then you watch modern wrestling, and then you can just see his imprints all over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And like it's for Santana, like I thought it's been really well done how they've kind of showed how much Conan and Amazing Red have influenced him. You know what I mean? Like obviously we know about LAX and stuff, so yeah, I thought that was really cool.
yeah. I was gonna bring up LAX too. Like, yeah, we know Santana a long time for like the tag team LAX and there. Like watching back. Did you knew that that he kind of had like something like when he was when he was a tag team, like pairing with Conan and stuff.
Did I think that like he was going to be, we would
Like
fast forward to him and he'd be world champion?
like breakout, so to speak. Let's say like breakout.
Well, if I'm gonna like going back to like just the old school way of thinking, I'm gonna put my kind of like WWE hat on, you would think though, using that logic, that like look at the two, him and Ortiz, for example. Santana is the taller one. You know what I mean? Like, so you would think at that point, like, okay, maybe he has a chance. But no, like I never really like thought that we would get to this point where like, I never thought of Santana. I just never thought we'd get here where he could be this big star. But I'm not saying that he wasn't capable of it. It just never crossed my mind that he'd be TNA world champion. You know what I mean? Him and so I never thought him and Ortiz would split.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Like them splitting was kind of a surprise there, but like I remember when they were in AEW, and them in the inner circle feuding with Moxley. Santana did like this sit down with Jim Ross, uh, where Santana was obviously bringing up his backstory and all this stuff, and that kind of like what stood me out because like here's a guy who's very open about his upbringing, about where he's from, and he's a family person. And of course, that's what people get into and like or can relate. And then that one time when he did get injured and he was at his rock bottom there, which is what we're gonna get into. Like that time where he got injured was probably like one of the darkest times because well actually prior to that he lost his dad. That didn't sit well. And then he got injured. And then he hit rock bottom to the point where, as we all know that his daughter pleaded for him to like stop drinking and all that other stuff and please get better and all that stuff. So like it was really the big motivation, the ultimate motivation for Santana, as we see with his daughter. So this guy, yeah, long story, yeah, this guy has he's had quite the ride, ups and downs. And it's also a very it's very motivating. Like even like one person can be the motivation for you to get you out of your dark space, so to speak. So Santana, yeah, he's come a long way, and it was it was very emotional for me when I saw him like on the knees on the knees as soon as he presented the belt to his daughter.
Yeah, that was a very like that's going to be like in the TNA history books. You know what I mean? That's going to be an image that lasts forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, he did mention about Slammiversary that that was the longest drive home because it's New York, his hometown. Um, I know a lot of people. They still have the argument like that the Crown Event should have happened the Slammiversary and whatnot and stuff. But yeah, I mean, hey, sometimes like even on the first try or the second try, three times the charm. Like this is it's kind of like it's basically like a movie. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I mean Rocky didn't become champion so instantly. Like he had to suffer. He had to take a couple losses before getting to the top. Same with this is another movie I'm trying to think of. Well, yeah, like the Rocky films and then the Creed films, and like you take a couple losses before reaching up to the top. So that's kind of what happened there. Like, so hey, if it didn't happen when you wanted to, but it only makes you stronger. So and that's what happened when
At
you
least
finally.
he didn't lose. Oh, sorry. I was just saying, at least he didn't lose the title. At least he didn't lose a title in his hometown. You know what I mean? He just didn't win. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a lot worse. And like you can't tell me that, especially watching the end of BFG, that wasn't worth the wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they needed to build Trick up more and shout out to Trick, dude. Man, he did some of his best work as TNA champ. So they had to build a credible heel. You know what I mean? You had to hate Trick even more than you did at Slammiversary. So I thought they did a very good job with that storyline.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So oh yeah, I was mentioning Santana, yeah, he's feeling good that he accomplished his goal that it was all worth it, the path to from recovering to taking a chance, taking a bet on himself, leaving AEW, splitting up with Ortiz, coming to TNA, being the standard as as our former standard Josh Alexander likes to nod him as. And then of course the series of back and forth with Trick Williams. Hey, again, shout out to Trick for doing well with his reign to leading up to like Bound for Glory. It's very satisfying road, very satisfying storybook ending, so to speak. All right. That's about covers it. Next Thursday will be. Next Thursday is this yours truly's birthday, October the 23rd. That I
Happy
mentioned.
early birthday, Io.
Thank you. It's fun that his birthday is on Thursday. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, next Thursday we're gonna be having the Fade to Black documentary, Bound for Glory. Basically, yeah, just kind of showing us the behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
which I like. The Slammiversary Fade to Black was pretty good. Did you see that one?
I saw a few clips, but to your point, I do like this kind of stuff because it's almost like an up to the minute. As soon as a show goes live, behind the scenes look, and that's kind of always cool. The preparation of how they get a show of this massive, ready to go. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Me too. All right. I think that's covers it for today. But Bert, you got anything you want to chime in to?
Just to going back to Joe's point about kind of wishing they had live matches. I get that, you know what I mean? Like it's not like at least we're not ending the year on this like how they would kind of end with best as. At least I hope they're not going to do that this year. But it's like a 3-week turnaround, you know what I mean? And last year we didn't have the benefit of seeing TNA wrestlers on NXT, which is always possible, obviously. But we're gonna be back. What is it? November 9th, the live episode, and then Victory Road is
November 13th.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, just be patient. There's gonna be some new content next week, like you said, the Fade to Black, and then after that, again, I have they announced anything after next week?
No.
No. Okay. Well, yeah. Again, tonight for what it was, I think it's anytime you get extra content like this, I think it's good, especially when TNA's kind of trying to get more new fans, reach more new eyes, show people more of the product. Again, if you're trying to get new fans. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks. Again, I'm trying to be patient, especially because it does help that there could be some news on the horizon. But what were your final thoughts, Io, on all this?
Yeah. This was a way to keep the Bound for Glory talk going of how important the night this was, not only for the fans but also the talent and crew. So that's what we're going to be getting between tonight and next week. So looking forward to hear more about from the crew, and what's going through their mind prior to this, because I know a lot of the roster members are still on cloud nine and the morale's still high after Bound for Glory, as it should be. I mean, props to them for this monumental night.
And just because there's no TV content, with this thing called social media, things are breaking 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Something can happen any day, anytime. So, but with that being said, I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank Io, as always, for co-hosting with me. Make sure you guys like and subscribe this video. Like and subscribe Body Slam to get notified when we go live, whenever any of the great people at Body Slam go live. But with that being said, we want to thank you guys all and have a good night.
All right, later.